Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the show that is partially to blame for the decay in society, the audience of one show on Conroe's 106.1 and 104.5. Also available wherever you get your podcast from and streaming on irlonestar.com. I'm Andrew, broadcasting next to the man who makes his own sushi, Richard California Roll Schisler. What's up, buddy?
It's raining.
It is raining.
Yeah.
Finally. And a little chilly. Well, I say chilly. It's cooler, but it's so humid that it's not actually chilly. Like, I think it said it was 72 degrees or something on the automobile temperature gauge on the way over here. I thought, should feel cooler than that. It's 72, but it's all the humidity.
Yeah, lucky for us, the AC's working here because it was out yesterday.
Oh, glad I missed that day.
So
we'll let the onesies know we are recording just a little bit earlier than normal. Got a busy schedule next week. And
what do they care?
Well, this won't be cutting-edge, topical, breaking news stories like we normally break here.
Oh, they usually. I mean,
yeah.
We listen to. Are we on the same show?
Yeah, right. This is Audience of One, right?
Audience
Not Mornings with Lone Star.
Well, I did just see you. That's just kind of weird because we don't really need to do the normal first segment. Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, haven't seen you in a week. Yeah, it's only been a couple of days.
Yeah, nothing's really happened.
Since the last time I saw you. How's the dating scene? Oh, about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I had an incident that I did want to talk. I say incident. I don't even know if you'd consider it an incident, but something that happened to me a while back that I wanted to bring to air. And it's kind of like parking lot etiquette. And in this particular case, I was at a Kroger, if that matters, grocery store parking lot. And it's fairly full. And I go to pull in to park.
It matters because people who attend certain places, you can judge them by the places they're attending.
Well, okay. True that.
Like, you ever been to a Walmart parking lot?
Is it different from a Kroger?
It's the Wild West.
Yeah.
And then, because I've seen people use a Walmart parking lot to, like, work on their cars, or park and piss.
Park and piss.
I've seen that.
I did see a man dancing on top of a very nice SUV one day in the middle of the Walmart parking lot, right here.
Walmart has a special group of people that visit Walmart.
Well, this was not Walmart. However, it was fairly busy, and there was an open spot, and I went to park. And in this particular case, so you can set the scene, the open spot was on my right-hand side.
Okay, so you're turning right.
I'm turning to my right, and I start to turn into the open spot. There's a car next to it, and I realize there is a person putting their groceries into the side of their car. I couldn't see them because they were obstructed. They're on the driver's side of their car. The view was obstructed as I went to turn. I stopped abruptly, and this person kind of looked at me, and I thought, do I wait? And it got me thinking about the scenario. Well, my thought is, do I just go to another spot?
Or just run them over?
Right, exactly. Give it the gas. Yeah, but I got to thinking about it. What's the proper play here? Do I just sit there and wait for them and have the other traffic, back up behind me, thereby putting the pressure on this person looking at me, hurriedly trying to put all their groceries into the car? Or should I just do the kind thing and say, oh, sorry, you're there, and go look for another spot? But then I put myself into the shoes of this other person, which I've had this happen to me, where I'm the person putting the groceries in, and I never know how to act in that situation. When a car starts to pull in, do you just kind of look at them like, hold on a minute, bro? Or do you move the cart off to the side and close the car door and make yourself small so they can pull in, and then and it's always one of these weird scenarios, and I never know what to do. But I think the rule is, if you've got a couple of bags, you just make them wait. Or I'm sorry, if you can finish up. But if you got a bunch of bags, sorry, dude, you're just going to have to wait. I'm not going to make myself small and get out of the way for you. You're just going to have to wait. This is my space right now. I mean, ideally, you put the groceries into the trunk, right? But if your trunk's full of, I don't know, Hot Pockets or something like that, and there's no room, you got to put it on the driver's side door, and of course that blocks the spot. But yeah, it's kind of an odd scenario, and of course things can get escalated in parking lots, as we've known about now with closed circuit television, watching the fights that break out over scenarios like that.
Well, I mean, first off, you can prevent all of this.
Just order online or something and have them delivered to your car?
There's two things I do. and a lot of people who I drive with really hate me when I do this, is I always just park at the furthest parking spot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, whatever, first one I see, just take it. Like, if it's all the way at the back, that's fine with me. I don't mind walking.
But this scenario I just described could happen to you even at the back of a parking lot if it's very busy, right? Somebody putting their groceries in on the side, and you're, I gotta wait. Or do you just pull in there and make them freak you're going to run them over?
To me, it's like we're only talking max a minute and
Right,
a half.
exactly.
So just wait, and then people are behind you, just be like,
Sorry. Waiting. Sorry. Okay, well, again, it's
people,
parking lot etiquette. I don't know the rules. Never learned it in driver's ed.
Well, the better scenarios that I enjoy are the people who wait for people to pull out. So meaning like when you're driving through this busy parking lot or parking garage, and you see this guy walking towards their car, and they're like, and the person sees it like, oh, I gotta get his spot.
Yep.
And then they just wait.
Yeah, that happens a lot during the holiday season, right?
And that's
virtually
great.
No parking lot.
Because I've been there in that scenario where I'm the person walking to my car, and I have a little like routine when I get into my car. So I would say it takes about up to a minute to like.
A minute? Are you that guy? Because there is nothing worse than you see somebody get into their car.
I get in, I put my stuff down, I make sure like I put my cup down, and then I got to connect my music.
Put in a fresh dip.
Yeah,
roll the window down.
Get
light
ready,
light up a smoke.
Like we're going, guys.
Heat up a lung dart.
Yeah, I get you though.
No, but it is strange when you see that scenario of someone getting into their car and it's a busy parking lot. You're like, oh, great, I'm just going to wait here. And then it takes them forever. You immediately start thinking, what's taking so long? Just start the car and put it in reverse, dude. Now I know. You're the guy who takes the minute and a half and has to go through his routine.
Yeah, and I do it on purpose. I look at him while I'm
flip the window down and fix your eyebrows.
I'm on
a phone
call. Yeah,
start zooming. Get out your mustache comb. Yeah, you're that guy. I knew it.
I side note, I am really loving my mustache.
You have said that 3 weeks straight now, and
like when I see it, I'm like, yeah,
you're proud of yourself.
Like this is happening.
Do you finger gun it yourself when you see yourself in like a reflection? Do you finger gun it and be like, yeah, that's you, dude?
Such a cool guy. But yeah, parking lot etiquette, I get it. It makes me think of this morning when I back in at the garage here, and I was running late because we had morning interviews. So I pulled in at an angle next to it because where I parked was a giant post to my left, and I definitely parked crooked, and to the point where I was like, "Oh, I probably over the line." And
so consciously, you knew.
But I get out of my car to see, did not go over the line.
Okay.
And I'm well in my line,
but still crooked.
But it's still crooked. Like I'm leaving it.
So in that normal scenario where you're not running late, would you have started the car and
I would have.
I am too. I am a straightener. I'll open the car door to look down to make sure because I don't have cameras. Truck's not that fancy enough to have cameras on the side that show you the 360 view, but I'll make sure that I'm straight as I possibly can be. I hate the parked crooker. The crooked parker.
Well,
annoying, and I don't want to be that guy.
But, ironically enough, I said, yeah, order your groceries online. Well, our grocery delivery guy hit our mailbox. And it's really funny because...
Sounds hilarious.
Well, no, it's funny because you go like, what do you do?
Yeah.
We have you on camera. And the driver apologized. He came up and said like, hey, I don't know how he hit the mailbox, to be honest. Like, you got to be because if he hit our mailbox, that means he was going to go in the ditch.
Wow.
Like, because the way and we're on a cul-de-sac. So I was like, how the heck did he hit
Distracted driving, most likely.
You call Kroger. And I think it was Walmart actually. You call Walmart, and you're kind of like, whose fault is this? Because these are just delivery guys. They don't they work for Walmart, but their car doesn't work for Walmart. Because you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's kind of like Uber Eats. It's like their contracts. It's like, does their insurance cover it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know how much to fix mailboxes are? Like brick and mortar mailboxes?
I would not know.
They go up to $1,000.
Seems like I'm in the wrong business then.
Yes. Well, because in the neighborhood it happens a lot. People hit mailboxes all the time, and we found a guy, and I was like, man, that's what I should do. I should be the handyman of this neighborhood, called Dick the Handyman. It's always good to have a
handy Dick.
It's always good to have Dick around the house. That's my tagline. And I was like, yeah, I'll charge $1,000.
Phone's gonna be ringing off the hook
to build a mailbox, but yeah, so. when you order online, be careful who's delivering your food and stuff. That's really funny to me. But yeah, so let's start the show.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Play the music. So, Dick, are you a fan of water parks and water slides more specifically? So I am too. I think we've discussed before.
That world's my bathroom. I love it.
Right. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh boy. That might be another discussion. I think we've discussed before that I am not a big roller coaster person. I wasn't even when I was younger, especially not now. But water rides, for whatever reason, water parks, I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
And it's always funny to me when you're watching the big water slides that are like 50, 60, 70 feet high, and they normally tell you, position your feet, cross your feet here, and put your arms in a cross, and you're going to slide down, whatever. And you're down at the bottom watching these people just go down. Universally, when the ride is over, the slide is over, immediately, what does everybody do?
Gets their wedgie out.
Pulls out the wedgie. The women immediately check to make sure the top's still on. Guys making sure the bottoms are still on. But universally, we all pull that wedge out, man. It's going to happen. Well, wouldn't you know that Disney has now been sued over injuries allegedly caused from a water slide due to an atomic wedgie.
Yeah, I saw that.
Whoa. This is called, in this story from MSN, it's an injurious wedgie. Yeah, man. So this ride is 214 foot. So I'm wondering, at what point during that ride did the wedgie occur? Like, did it occur within the first 50 and you got to ride out the next 150 some odd feet with that thing just continually working its way up your body? Or did it happen towards the end? I don't know. But this was back in October of 2019. So coming up on 4 years ago. I love this. The water slide's name is Humunga Cowabunga. Well, this person got a Humunga Cowabunga wedgie. Emma and Edward McGinnis. That's the family. I don't know if they got it together collectively. When did they go in solidarity? Yeah. It was they were on vacation at the resort to celebrate Emma's 30th birthday. Well, she got more than she bargained for on that trip.
Well, I'm going to give people a perspective. I'm reading this article he sent, and basically they call this slide near vertical 5-story drop in the dark.
Ooh, in the dark.
So
that adds to it. I don't know that I'd be comfortable with that. I got to see what I'm doing.
I still do it. Even after that person went to the hospital, I still do it.
Really? Would you be like the next person, though? Bring it on! Did you ever hear about that? This is a sad story. This is here in Texas, I believe, at Schlitterbahn here in Texas, where a 12-year-old boy was actually decapitated on a ride. Did you hear about this? This was several years ago. I have ridden the ride that boy was on. I believe I rode it before he did, but it was one of the world's very first uphill roller coasters, water slides. And you go down, you would actually have jets that would propulsion you back up. Well, I guess he hit a bump in there and it knocked his head off. And I don't know if his head was completely removed, but I think it was.
Think about that security footage.
So, can you imagine? I mean, it's terrible. I'm not going to make any jokes about it because it is such a horrible incident, but I've ridden that ride, and I have to admit, I'd probably do it again. But if that happens, do they shut the entire water park down that day, or do they just shut down that one ride?
I don't know.
In either scenario, the atomic wedgie scenario, or
I doubt it, to be honest.
Probably not in the wedgie scenario.
Well, I always feel kind of
business as usual.
I always feel
pick
cautious
it and move on
when you're at a water park or a roller coaster park. Well, I guess more water park, but like when they close down a ride. Because it's like, okay, why did it get closed down? Did somebody get injured? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh.
Somebody dookied in it.
Or that, I mean.
I think that's pretty common. As you've just said, the water park is your urinal.
It's my urinal, guys.
Well, this says, because of a, quote, woman's anatomy, the risk of a painful wedgie is more common and therefore more serious than for a man. So I'm guessing this happened to Emma and not her husband.
Well, I actually read more about this because...
Very interested in the story, are you?
Well, when someone says in the headline, like, atomic wedgie or whatever, I'm like, what?
Right.
Well, it turns out it's not really the wedgie that caused the accident.
Mm-hmm.
It was the amount of water forced into the body.
Oh, that's a altogether different scenario, which I could imagine would happen if you're falling 214 feet on a near vertical Whether if it's in the dark or
Yeah,
not.
she let all that water in, and then it hurt her.
Yeah, I could see how that would happen. I did not know that was the extent of the injuries.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to tell you that, because I knew you probably didn't know that, and I was like, it wasn't just like, oh, it cut her.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
But no, the water, it would force the water up her, and she got an enema, basically, and
Free
on the
charge.
front and back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what I mean, dog.
But yeah, water parks. Cool. All right.
Yeah, so keep that in mind the next time you're heading to Disney or any water park for that matter. Since you are on the dating scene, I thought we would cover a few relationships that maybe are not going so well. This is the domestic dispute portion of the Audience of One show, Dick.
There's a lot of that with me.
There is, but this story caught my eye, and it is quite humorous. So sticking, I guess this is kind of on the same pants topic. A Florida wife gets arrested for pantsing her husband in public. And I see this headline, and I thought, first of all, didn't know pantsing someone was, I guess, against the law, but there's much more to this story. If you will allow me to elaborate for just a minute here. According to the arrest report obtained by Lady Lake Police Department, Graber was arrested after she pantsed her husbands in the Villages of Florida. The way the story goes, the 53-year-old was found passed out on the sidewalk at the square. After being woken up by police, they noticed she was soaked. That was tinkle. That's some urine. After she notified police it was her own urine, she became belligerent and began using foul language to the point that her husband had to be called. So you can imagine the scenario here. Your wife's, I don't know if they say called. I don't think he was at home. He was probably, I'm guessing, down the street or a restaurant. Say, hey, would you come over here and get your wife in check? She's passed out and wet. Take her home. So it sounded like they were giving her a chance. He attempted to put her in the vehicle when he arrived, but the woman refused. She continued to curse out the police and jumped in and out of the vehicle. This was the point where the police lost their patience. When the police tried taking her into custody, she refused to comply, struggled with them, and then reached over and pulled down her husband's pants. And that's when the police said, enough. They arrested her. And this is the best part of it.
This is the scenario I want to be on live PD or whatever.
Right, yes, exactly. This is the best part, though. Graber ended up spending 12 days in jail before her husband finally bailed her out. He let her sit in there for 12 days.
Husband and wife.
But he let her sit in there for 12 days. I guess
I
after
would
he
let
got
her rot.
pantsed, he's like, yeah, honey, working on it. A lot of paperwork over here. Yeah, the card keeps getting declined. I'm trying to get you post bail, but it just won't work. The chip reader's not working, sweetie. I promise I'm trying. Love it.
You'd be surprised when I watch those jail shows. A lot of families are like, "You got yourself in it. You're staying in there."
True, and we don't know how many times maybe this has already happened. Something similar to this.
You want to know something interesting too?
More interesting than a woman pantsing her husband while urinating on herself. Go for it.
Watching the jail show, they arrested a small person, and he was drunk, being belligerent. But apparently, in certain states, it's protocol when you go to jail and you're a small person, they put you in a different jail because you could be in harm's way in general population. Because apparently there's statistics. Because I had to look this up. It was really weird, and because they had to cut his pants and stuff because they didn't have small people jail clothes, so they just took his pants and he put his feet up and they had to measure and cut, and it was an interesting process. But the way they handled him was oh, he's special. We had to push him in the special wing. And I look it up. Well, apparently the stats for small people getting beat up and injured in general population is really high. There's a 95% chance if you're a small person and you go to jail, you're going to get beat up. I'm not kidding you. Which is really wild to me. But so if you're a small person, don't get arrested. But if you do get arrested, request a special holding cell. He had to be in his this cell by himself for the whole time.
I was going to ask, maybe you don't know this, but as a little person, not small person, I think it's called little person, if there are other folks in the cell with him. Is there a high enough crime rate from little people that you're not by yourself?
Because it's so weird watching these shows is there's so many laws protecting these people, and because one of them was concerned because they weren't paying his bail, and I think there was some rule they can't hold him in the cell for 15 days because it's not you're basically in solitude, and you can't punish somebody like
Yes,
that.
it seems inhumane.
Waiting for their court date, right?
Seems inhumane. I
So
don't
it was
know.
really weird. So they didn't know what to do. They were trying to figure it out, and
Well, I must admit I did not realize I was going to be talking about little people thrown into jail
well,
today
it
when
was
I woke up this
interesting.
morning.
I like little facts like that, and I love sharing
Little facts?
it. Little facts like that. I'm glad you're following along this time, Andrew. And I wanted to let our onesies know, like, hey, small people get it made in jail too. Like that guy was.
I don't even know how to respond.
That guy was wasted though. It was.
Oh man.
Because that's one thing I love about those jail shows is half the time the people they're arresting are so out of it. And of course they're being filmed, so the officers are trying to be like as nice, and they're explaining every step of the way. And I'm going, these guys aren't going to remember anything. Like this guy can barely even hold his neck up. He's just like, and then he starts growling at the camera. And you're like, this guy's on something. He's going to forget all this stuff. He's going to wake up and be like, how did I get to jail? But yeah, I love how the officer just explains step by step that we're going to put you over here. We're going to put your handcuffs on. We're going to walk you down to this. We're going to put your name in. And we're going to do this.
Even though he's not going to remember any of it.
Yeah.
Staying on the domestic dispute theme, a woman is chased by police for 7 miles, which, that's probably happened before. However, this time...
Have you ever witnessed a domestic dispute?
No, I guess I haven't. Thank goodness.
I want to say when I was younger, I remember...
Are you about to hit me?
No, I remember, our neighbor behind us...
Do you want to?
The neighbor behind us that had a huge fight at, a party. They had a party, and I was up in the second floor, so I could see down in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not creepy.
What
ahead.
was interesting about it is there's probably 20, 25 people there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see these people yelling at each other, the natural thing for all these people to do is to circle around them.
Like in high school? Maybe that's just a human trait, not just a high school trait.
It was really funny. I was like, are these guys about to
Are they about
to fight?
It almost seems like they were sanctioning it.
Yeah,
go.
That's what was so weird about it.
Did someone bust out in Jerry?
And yeah, but no fists were thrown, but there was threats of food being thrown at each other. But yeah.
All right.
I've never seen it. And then I will let people know if on the dating apps, they give you plenty of heads up to be careful to go when you're going on dates with strangers.
Probably a good idea.
Like tips. What are signs for abuse?
Interesting. Okay, well, I bet you... Well, we'll talk more about that here in a minute after this story, I guess.
Yeah.
So this woman was chased 7 miles by police with her husband clinging to the car hood.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I guess the story goes they got into an argument. The woman started to drive off. He, grabbed onto the hood, didn't want her to leave, and she said, "No problem, bro. We're going for a ride." Police then started chasing them, and it went on for 7 miles with up to interstate speeds. They were on Interstate 70. Local roads through construction zones, didn't matter. All the while, this guy is holding on to the hood. So, with that being the case, I'm assuming these two probably will not remain a happily wedded couple. She's out on the dating scene. She pops up on your app. You're on a first date with her, and that story comes up. She's like, yeah, funny story. This one time, police were chasing me while my husband was clinging onto the hood. But hey, I like dill pickles over sweet. You want to go? And you're thinking, I can oversee this incident. You okay with this?
I'm not going to lie. I want all the onesies to know I have a lot of forgiveness in my heart.
But except for the pickle thing. Well, no sweet pickles, but if she had an incident like this, maybe she pantsed her previous husband.
Like I told you on the last episode,
all is forgiven.
The sweet pickle thing is more of the cruel joke. So if you're at a restaurant and you wanted sweet pickles, that's fine by me. But if you bring sweet pickles into my house and put it next to the dill pickles, we're gonna have a problem. Like if you have dill pickles in the house, you got to keep it in a place where I don't go. Because I'll accidentally grab it, and then I'll be wanting that dill pickle, and it's not a dill pickle, and my day is ruined. But, I wanted to, with that story with that speed chase, the high-speed chase, I was reading an article about potentially police departments around the country are going to have a policy that they do not chase people.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
And I was thinking to myself.
Because it's so dangerous.
How, if you knew that, and you're doing a bank robbery, or you're driving your husband on the hood, it's like if you knew that, what does that mean? So it's like if I exceed a certain speed limit, they just stop?
Yeah, I don't know what constitutes high speed.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because I was wondering that. It's like...
Yeah. Oh, darn it, he got over 55.
And it's not
Gotta let him go.
Well, it's not like they're going to get away.
No, at some point you're going to get caught.
Because they probably scan the license plate. They know
Yeah,
who it is.
it's just a
They
matter
know
of
the
time.
car.
And that's the idea there is we're not going to put other people in danger to go catch this guy. We'll just let the thing play out, and we'll catch him later on down the road. I'm sure that's what that is.
Well, I mean, my uncle got in a wreck in a high-speed chase.
Ooh, what did he do?
Well, they were in a high-speed chase, and some bozo ran the red light
Yeah.
and T-boned him.
Well, I will say this, just the other day, I was leaving a business establishment, and I went to turn right. This was on the frontage road of I-45, and here come two cop cars, and they had to have been going 100 miles an hour with their sirens and lights going. But I started to pull out because you're like, here comes, whoa, and they're on you so fast, and they flew by, and of course it was wet and raining, and I thought, wow, that could be dangerous because they're weaving in and out of cars. I don't know. I guess that policy has not taken place here.
Yeah. This is interesting. I was like, I wonder how they dictate. Oh, he's going 30. We can get him. But then right when he hits 45, back off. We're not doing anything.
Well, it is definitely switching subjects here. We're off of domestic violence now.
I think they should go the opposite route.
Uh-huh.
In a high-speed chase, if you exceed 45, we can start shooting at you.
Oh, right. That'll end it right there. Sure.
I think that's what everyone will be fearing for their lives. Get out of the way, and we're going to kill this. We're going to shoot this person until the car stops.
Or you just have a bunch of slow-speed chases that last hours, like OJ. Because no one wants to get shot, but they just keep driving.
Being that OJ guy driving, and all of a sudden you start hearing bullets hitting your car, and you're like, oh, I better pull over because they're literally shooting at me.
Yeah. I think you need to be elected mayor.
Well, it makes my life more interesting. Then, of course, some poor child gets hit by a bullet, and you're like,
or chief of police.
That's the price of freedom.
Kid shouldn't gotten in the way of freedom.
Yeah, if I was the public service officer or public information officer, I'd be like, that's my reasoning for everything. Well, that's the price of freedom,
baby. You got to end every sentence, baby. Well, off of domestic violence and on to football. So different, right? In a lot of different ways, same thing. Well, it is definitely the heart of football season, and here in Texas and really in the South, high school football is massive. And this story just really goes to show exactly how deep this runs. Apparently in Alabama, after a football game earlier this season, just a few weeks ago, police officers had to arrest the band director because he refused to stop playing band music. That is sticking true to the bit. So apparently police officers were clearing out the stadium following a game and saw both
Do you
school
think they're
bands
playing
still
American
performing.
Pie?
Yeah, no, they're like, dude, We Will Rock You. I'm not leaving, bro. We got to play We Will Rock You or like Sweet Caroline. Nuh-uh, we're going to finish this out. But apparently both schools were still performing, and the officers asked the band directors to stop playing so people could start to leave. And the director...
They couldn't leave until the band stops playing?
That's what this says. But my thought is they're just trying to clear the stadium out. And they were like, nah, bruh, we're finishing this song. The body cam video began 18 minutes after the game ended, shows an officer approaching the people with the band. And I think it's interesting because I'm like, 18 minutes. At that point, they've probably already done the congratulations, the handshakes. They're playing the school song. At that point, it is time to go home. I'll give them that much, right? 18 minutes. He's like, no, fire up the band. Let's go. And police said, you got to go. He said, no, I'm assuming there were some de-escalation tactics not being properly used here. But, of course, it gets out of control. Get out of my face, get out of my face, the band director repeats. And, of course, they had to cuff and stuff him right there because the band director, he's going to go down in, like, the annals now of that school. You know it. But it's also...
Well, it's also one of those unfortunate scenarios where you're surrounded by children and the adults who need to be acting like adults are not.
Correct. And so, if you're playing in the band, what do you do at that point? You're seeing your band director get cuffed and stuffed right there in front of you.
I mean, what's interesting to me, too, is what were the parents doing? I still don't really understand what's going on with this.
I don't know. It says the band did eventually stop playing after the director climbs down from the bleachers and shortly after the altercation between the two. Because
typically after football
occurred.
games, most parents are like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And there's parents of the band, too, going, why are you guys still playing? We really need to get home. It's 11 o'clock at night.
It's 18 minutes after the game's ended.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, he's got to get in We Will Rock You or whatever else is played.
Were they doing the drum off? Is
I
that
don't
what
know.
was happening?
It did say that
Is that what was happening?
both bands were playing. I don't know why the police decided to
fun.
go after one. Maybe they went after both. One complied and the other was like, we're finishing the song.
And maybe the officer just really wanted to get home and watch the football game.
Maybe
or
so.
watch baseball. And he's like, these guys are killing my night. I think especially with officers, like I never really fully understood the people's thought process of fighting officers verbally.
Doesn't make any sense. Just comply and it'll work out
Because
later.
my brother did that.
Not smart.
And I was like, I'll never forget, we're hanging out at his apartment. And of course we're watching a movie and it's like 7 p.m. And my brother loves movies. So he has a sound system. So someone called for a noise disturbance. And he started giving the officer lip about it. And I was like, Ben, this isn't that hard of a scenario. We'll just turn it down.
Yeah, Mr. Band Director, stop playing music. It's pretty easy.
He's like, I know my rights. I love that. I love when people do that.
I know my rights.
I know my rights.
Do you now?
That's the price. No. And then he gets clocked and he's like, that's the price of freedom.
There you go.
I love it.
All right, last story before the break. On October 14th, so just coming up here in a few days, there is going to be the annual solar eclipse. Dick, do you know what a solar eclipse is?
Yeah.
And I'm waiting.
Isn't that when the moon covers the sun?
Something like that. Yeah. And I do remember the last one. Apparently, this is the second in a series of 3 eclipses, which they're calling the Great American Eclipses. Didn't know that. But I remember the last one. It was in 2017. I remember it because it was pretty amazing what it did to like all the shadows. This was right before I moved to this area. I was working in downtown Fort Worth, and we all went outside, and I remember that the light in the air was very different. It just looked different outside, and all of the shadows started to bend. They had a curvature to them, and because the sun is being blocked, so the shadows, I guess the light was being refracted or whatever. But that is going to happen on October 14th, and of course, in true ERCOT fashion, I cannot talk today, ERCOT is bracing itself for another challenge. So let me get this straight. Too hot? We have challenges. Too cold? We have challenges. Solar eclipse? We got challenges. Because apparently there's a certain amount of power that they rely on coming from solar power, and it's not going to be generating the same amount as it normally does on that day. So ERCOT is bracing again for impact. So everybody be ready.
I'm not going to, okay, we can get political with stuff, but yeah, I mean,
start saving water,
it's
canned goods, everything, October 14th.
Isn't it kind of logical to be like, hey, we need the sun?
Yeah, but we're talking, this is a matter of a few minutes, right?
I know, that's what, no, it's like...
The fact that ERCOT has to release these statements saying, all right, guys.
No, my conspiracy theory is ERCOT, what they do now, since everyone's so, knowledgeable about ERCOT, they're just going to be like, we're going to cover our butt no matter what. Like, oh, hey, the winds went up to 10 miles an hour. Let's send a message out. Power might go out. The wind went out. The wind's bad. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, because I can't imagine Entergy, who's the main provider here in Conroe, like the stuff they deal with. It's like all these people are complaining, and because one of our good friends works for an electric co-op, and he tells me it's amazing how like anything can really happen, and trying to explain to thousands of people like, oh, by the way, your neighbor was an idiot and decided to hit a pole, and when he hit the pole, it knocked over this transformer that knocked out half the street.
Right.
But they're not going to tell every single person that.
Right. So they assume it's the electric company's fault.
The other day, the power went out for like a whole neighborhood, and guess what it was? It was a buzzard.
What was it? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it just blew it, and you found the buzzard legs. It was pretty tight. I don't know if you've ever seen a fried buzzard before, but I got to see it firsthand.
No.
And
awesome.
Yeah, no, because it's like when you meet people who work in that field, they know. Like Kurt knew.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey Kurt, what up? He knew when he heard it.
Yep.
His whole neighborhood went out, and I was like,
"That's a buzzard." I know by the sound. That's fried buzzard.
I'm not kidding you. That's a buzzard. And we're like, well, where? He's like, oh, well, let's go check it out. And then they found it, and like there's literally the legs, just the legs, and then a couple feet over. Or actually, like probably like 10, 15 feet over was this fried carcass. Wow. And I was like, and he goes, this is why you don't mess with electricity.
Yeah, this is dangerous, kids. Well, the cities of Odessa, San Antonio, and Corpus Christi will be in the path of totality. So maybe we will be spared here locally from total darkness. All right, we're running a little bit long at this half, but when we come back, we're going to talk about What makes a movie a dad movie? More Audience of One when we come back, guys.
Hey there, listener. This is Dick with Audience of One with my buddy Andrew.
I'm here too.
I want to remind you guys real quick that our show is basically a free show,
It is.
but we accept donations
Well,
and sponsorships.
But it must be really, really hard to sponsor or donate to the show, though.
It's really easy. If I put a link in every description of our videos where you can
that's
download right then.
Oh.
It's really easy. And it's 100% legit. We are a 501c3 radio station, so if you want a tax deduction or anything like that, sponsor the show.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and donate. That's how we keep the show free and how we're able to buy cool stuff for the studio.
Yeah, and besides that, the show's really good.
That's true. And yeah. All right, Audience of One, every Wednesday at 10 a.m., we are back for the second half of the show. Don't forget, we love getting articles from you and funny memes and all that kind of crap. AudienceOfOneShow at gmail.com is the best way to reach us, but we're also on Facebook and YouTube and podcast, blah, blah, blah. But most importantly, we need donations for the studio to keep the show going. So visit irlonestar.com. There's a donate button right there. You can even sponsor the AOO show.
If you want to be a part of this madness.
Yeah, there's a way. Just contact us at irlonestar.com or Facebook or whatever. You know, the more and more I thought about the first half about how disgusting water parks are, you know, what's amazing to me is how, not amazing, I wonder how many kids get lost and you have those close calls. Mm-hmm. When, you know, because there is a story about me and my mom loves to tell people about how, I think it was in San Antonio, and it was one of the Six Flags where, like, the water park's next door to the roller coaster park. And apparently when I was younger, my mother had 6 kids, so there's all 6 of us were there. So there's a lot going on.
The chances of someone being lost at any one given time are fairly high.
It wasn't even lost. It was literally somehow I slipped through the gate.
Somehow,
like, I'm not kidding you. Like, she said it was the scariest thing because they're in the parking lot, and like she's getting everybody out.
Are you sure it wasn't little Richard going, "Oh, looky here," and wandering off and
no,
pulling
I ran
the gate
off
to the side
No,
and getting in?
I ran off, and somehow
slipping through the gate makes it sound like, "Oh, I fell."
No,
this was a purposeful.
no.
I'm making a run for
well,
it.
because it didn't even cross my mother's mind that I was in the park because they were still in the parking lot.
Oh, you were in the parking lot. Yeah, you're already in.
I was already in.
You're 3 rides deep, picking a wedgie at that point.
Yeah, and
Hurry up.
My mom was like, we literally scattered through the parking lot looking for you, and we couldn't find you, and we thought you were kidnapped.
You round the corner, you got a big old thing of like a turkey leg in one hand.
Well, no,
cotton candy
I think
in the
I was
other.
I think I was like 4 or 5 at the time.
It's taking you guys so long.
And they found me because she went up to the booth and showed a picture.
Have you seen this man?
No, seriously, yeah. And apparently I was in like the splash pad area, and I was turning blue because I was having
this
too
suddenly
much,
is not too much.
I was having too much fun, and I was
Why were you turning blue?
because I was so cold and I didn't care. I was just like,
I thought maybe you were aspirating on
and
something. I was like, oh no, this is taking
actually
a terrible turn.
Apparently that's how they found me because one of the lifeguards saw I was turning blue. So he takes me, and then they get a phone call. You know, it's like, hey, we're missing a kid. This is what he looks like. And he's like, I actually have the kid right here. But yeah, I always think about those parks bringing kids, and then like,
So great.
They're gone, man. They're on their own ride, and so.
Yes, slipped through the gates.
But
a
AO
loose
show,
term.
welcome back.
Yeah,
Let's get back to the fun topics.
absolutely, man. So I know you wanted to talk about not bad movies, but dad movies with a D, and I thought, well, what the heck is a dad movie? So what are you talking about here? I'm a little lost.
I watched Castaway.
Okay, and you claim this is,
and it felt like a dad movie to me. I forgot about it, and it's like there's certain movies that have to do with that talk about the man's struggle, and then somehow that encompasses itself into a dad movie. If it's about a man and he goes through some struggle, you know, or an adventure, or you know, that kind of thing. I was going to ask you, like, for example, Field of Dreams. That's a dad movie to me.
Yes, I would think so.
That's not like, oh, you're bringing the kids to the movie and they're going to love it. Just like the only people that really love that movie are dads.
Yeah, and
like,
Tin Cup.
and Tin Cup.
Right, I guess those are
Well,
both Costner movies.
Well,
by chance,
what I'm
but-
saying, it's kind of funny because there's a certain time period between like the early '90s through the late 2010s. It's like Tom Hanks, Kevin Costner. Who else we got? Who are the dad actors?
But see, though, most likely then those men were not dads at the time. They were probably just young men and are now dads.
Yeah, but I meant more
So-
of just like the movies they were in. Like the dad would go, "I'm gonna go see that movie because Kevin Costner's in it."
Okay.
You know, and Tom Cruise maybe, but I mean,
I think the movies have to have things like rope in them. People tying knots. Dads like knots. Was your dad a rope tyer? I think if
No.
there's anything about tying knots, which
No.
is in Castaway, that classifies as a dad movie. Of course, nudity. Gotta have that. Check. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I know what classifies as a dad movie, even after we've had this brief discussion. I think I'm still a little in the dark.
well, because you got to think I don't know what it is. It's like there's certain movies that are so cheesy. They're like, this is such a dad movie. Like, no one really cares about this movie but dads.
Maybe. Snakes on a Plane.
No, I don't know, because I was thinking like Rocky, because Rocky
Yeah.
could be appealing to everybody because it's a love story, but
Yeah,
you
oddly
know,
enough, I suppose it is.
well, it's that's a romantic movie, right?
I mean, it is a story about their relationship.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's,
I'm aware, but it's just
It's the best dating
odd.
movie ever.
Right. Second date, though. Second date.
Second date.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of movies with Tom Hanks in it that I feel are just dad movies.
I suppose. My dad's, I guess, not a big movie watcher, so maybe that's why I have a bit of a hard time
Sorry.
grasping what this is. Yeah, you need to apologize. Console me about that, please.
Okay.
It'll be
I'll
okay.
be your daddy.
Moving on, we had this story last week, or a couple weeks ago, about the Russian lieutenant that was killed by a drone, right,
Yeah.
while he was mowing his lawn.
Wasn't that kamikaze drone?
I mean, I guess technically it is, right? Oh, wait, kamikaze would be where the drone actually flew into him.
Isn't that what happened?
No, I didn't shoot him with a little, didn't it zap him or something? Yeah, I think it shot him.
Okay.
I don't think the drone flew into him and chopped him up with his little blades. Could you imagine him wrestling with it?
Well, no, I mean, I always when they talk about drone
Get off me,
warfare,
drone!
I think of like either it's a big drone that has a big gun, or it's like
Yeah, I think that's what this was.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's not one of these little ones that you buy from Walmart. I'm assuming it's the size of this table, and it's weaponized, and they fly over and
because I've seen the drone footage like in the Ukraine place,
right as he's
where
admiring
they drop grenades.
his magnolias that he's just planting. Oh, look at that! Got the grass all trimmed.
Because I've seen those videos. Have you seen those?
What's that?
Where the drone like drops grenades.
Yeah.
So I thought this particular one was like the drone literally came in with explosives and just blew itself up.
It's either explosive or a gun, but I don't understand what it is about mowing the lawn, because apparently it is very dangerous, and not in the way you would think, where the blades or some rock might get you that's kicked up from the blade. Here's another story about someone who has died while mowing the lawn from, what is this, McCurtain County, Oklahoma. This is from news.yahoo.com. A woman is found dead after authorities say she was struck by a plane while mowing a lawn in Oklahoma. Yeah, let's think about this for a second. This is a woman
That's great.
mowing the lawn and is hit by a plane, but it's not what you'd think. It's not
What
like
are
she
the
was.
odds?
Yeah, well, it apparently a little higher because she was mowing the grass next to a landing strip, and not that landing strip, Dick, an actual airplane landing strip.
She was mowing her landing strip.
No. She was mowing a lawn
Okay.
at the Broken Bow Airport in McCurtain County Friday afternoon. And my guess is this is probably one of these really small, like,
What a way to
airports,
go.
and you're just.
What a way to
But
go.
my thought is, if you see the woman there, aren't you going to like kind of just do a circle around? But he thought, I can make it. We're good, and he clips her with the edge of the wing and kills her.
Can you? So I don't know if it's fate, but I had a lot of conversations this week about clipping things with your car and doing
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I was in a group chat with friends, and we talk about that sinking feeling you get, where like you hit a post or something in your car, and you're like, God dang it. So can you imagine this dude not seeing this woman, and you're like, oh, I can do that turn, and then you hear thunk, and you're like, oh man, I hit the fence, man.
You get out and you look over. Oh no!
There's a dead lady.
Or you see the woman because you're landing the plane. You think I can make it. You hear a small bump. You look in your airplane rearview mirror, and see her kind of keel over, and you dang it.
I remember one time I
Dang it.
hit a newspaper guy.
With an airplane.
No, with my car. You know what I'm talking about? Those dudes.
No, I don't.
Those dudes who would sit in the median and like sell newspapers.
Oh, okay.
Well, this dude was
Well,
like,
even then, you hit one of those guys.
well, he was like in the road, and I'm turning left. It was over on 1960 and
Freedom!
and Student Airline, and I'll never feel like it wasn't going fast. Like I was in the left turn lane, and then I just start driving. Like so, he saw me coming, and I guess he was like trying to like.
Get out of the way, probably.
No, you know what I'm talking about? What they say on the
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. They're selling newspapers on the side of the median by the highway or whatever.
I'm just driving. Like he sees me. Like I'm turning left. I was at,
and you're thinking he's gonna move. You're playing chicken with this guy.
And I hit his elbow.
Oh, boom! Just probably exactly like this scenario with the airplane.
And I will never forget. I look at my rearview mirror, and he's like, "Hey, oh," like a funny bone kind of thing. He's like, "Oh," and I just kept driving. I was like, I don't know. That's not my fault, bro. Like you got into.
This is the risk you take when you sell newspapers on the side of the road. Oh my gosh! Well, this was a 1972 Bonanza A36. I'm not sure that that's a plane that's probably safe to fly these days, but he was still flying his 72 Bonanza, and he clipped this woman, and she was pronounced dead on the scene. You know, this is also coming off the heels of the story of the woman mowing her yard that was attacked by a snake and a hawk at the same time. All of these stories coming together. Again, mowing your lawn, very dangerous. But the pilot was uninjured. So there's that.
That's great.
But it makes me wonder, would this all have been avoided if we had had pilotless airplanes? And that is a discussion, apparently. You know, we've talked about driverless cars. How about pilotless jets? Are you getting into a jet that is autonomous? I know I'm not. That would freak me out. I'm sorry, if I get into a plane and there's nobody in there flying it, but apparently this is being tested. And Airbus has confirmed that they recently had one of their aircrafts had a successful test flight just last December.
I think what scares me the most about that it's all how they set it up. Because a driverless car, I feel comfortable with because I know how to drive a car. Mm-hmm. So if something happens, I know how to maybe react.
Right.
But the airplane,
right?
Like
is there a pilot on board? Is there a pilot on board?
Pilot on board?
Starts going down.
That's when someone makes a stupid decision because they're trying to save money and they don't have a pilot on the plane, and it's like, oh hey, by the way, guys, we lost power. But power's back up, but the AI flying machine is not working, so we're going to be crashing in about 20 minutes.
No way, man! I wouldn't do it. I'd like to have the old human being in the cockpit.
Did I make that joke with our pilot buddy about how there's some studies done where if they see a woman pilot, they like freak out?
Yeah, you brought that up, and it was actually true.
It was true.
People perceive a woman pilot as being less capable when they get on board than if they were to see a man.
It's so weird to me.
I think it's really weird, but again, he agreed with you. Yeah, it was an actual study. I've had several, now that I fly a little bit more often, several women pilots, and it doesn't even cross my mind that it might be more dangerous. I would much rather have a woman pilot than no pilot at all, for crying out loud.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I do recognize, I'm like, oh, look, it's a female, because you just don't see a lot of them. But the thought isn't like, geez, I better strap this seatbelt on a little tighter.
You need to get out more, man, for not seeing a lot of them.
I just know there just aren't a lot. I mean, I
bet there are.
Well, there's probably more now than there used to be, but I don't know what I imagine they're still quite in the minority, though. But it's getting more and more every single day, I'm sure.
I don't know.
But it says, according to this article from CNN, Airbus recorded 1,000 hours of flight time and over... No. The A35 to 1,000 achieved 8 automatic takeoffs over a period of 4.5 hours. Sorry, so it's basically landing and taking off and landing and taking off, landing and taking off, all by itself.
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't get on that plane if there wasn't a pilot.
Yep. Not doing it. So how about supersonic jets? You know what supersonic is, right?
That's when you break the sound barrier?
That is when you break the sound barrier. And I don't have the stats on how fast that is. I think it's like 11 or 1,200 miles an hour. Yeah, it's really, really fast. I know that when I was younger, I used to attend the air show where I grew up. And they would have jets that would fly by super, super fast and, incredibly loud.
700 miles an hour.
Is that it?
Is the average.
No, that's not the sound barrier, though. But they would fly past, and you would see the jet go past you, and then the sound would come afterwards. And
Approximately 767.
Wow.
Okay, I was just trying to help
See,
out our onesies.
that additional 67 miles is what's doing it.
Okay, so NASA.
Yes, but NASA is planning on doing a trial study on supersonic jets, and they're hoping that this will be able to be used for passengers as well. But their strategy is to build a jet with a lower sonic boom, because that's always the problem. When an aircraft breaks the sound barrier, the sound is just massive. And they're trying to build a quieter boom jet. But apparently this travel would make, these planes would make travel from United States to London in like 90 minutes or something. That's pretty awesome. I want you to show the picture of this thing, because the beak on it is quite impressive. And it's the second picture down, I think, is the one that shows really how long those jets actually are. And I guess that the nose on it has to be shaped like that in order to break the sound barrier a little bit quieter.
Does yours
right?
look like that?
My what?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, moving on. I don't own a jet. If that's what you're thinking of. That. Anyways, I think that's pretty interesting, and I hope that we get to that point. I would much rather get on a supersonic jet.
Can you imagine all the people
jet.
pooping themselves?
Just in general. I know we had that incident on the Delta flight not too long ago where the lady diarrheaed all the way down the aisle.
Yeah, and the bowling alley.
No,
I meant more of, because you think about breaking the sound barrier and the G's it takes. Some people are just built different.
Like, geez.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, they're built different. So, like, are they even capable of going through that?
Yeah, is the human body capable of going between Mach 2 and Mach 4, which is 1,500 miles an hour, to 3,000 miles per hour?
Then again, I don't really know how physics works, because I imagine if you build the right type of travel system, like, you might even not know you're going that fast.
Sure, yeah, you don't even feel it.
Yeah.
What would turbulence feel like when you're going 3,000 miles an hour?
Because I
guess... Would the doo-doo just fly to the back?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
These are questions we need to ask, though.
Well, it's interesting because there's going to be like an age limit, because it's like, we can't.
If your heart's not.
Yeah, we can't put you through this
proper enough to fly in one of those. Maybe
you got to empty out before you get on the plane.
Wow.
Because I can see some people just pooping.
Well, the Concorde, which has not been around for 20 some odd years, was the last commercial supersonic jet, and it had a max speed of Mach 2.04 or 1,300 miles per hour. And I don't think they had any doo-doo incidents. They had a lot of problems with.
Probably don't want to tell people they had to do it.
Yeah, well, they had a lot of problems with quality and breakdowns and things like this, and it was just so expensive, so incredibly expensive, and the business model didn't make, I guess, and so they stopped. And I do think it's interesting the fact that we used to be able to fly overseas in a matter of hours, and then just like that, with the drop of a hat, we went back to just going, all right, well, it's going to take 8 hours now at a minimum to fly from New York to London, and we've just kind of all been okay with that. Well, NASA says, no, we're making a low-boom sonic plane doo-doo free, baby.
You know, it's funny. I had the Commemorative Air Force on my morning show, and I asked them, because they usually fly like planes up to World War II, so anything before World War II and then up to World War II. So it's kind of.
I was listening to this show. I think I know where you're going to go.
Well, I asked them. I was like, so when are y'all going to start flying jets and letting people do that? And apparently, there's like a law that like you can't just buy a jet.
What? And I've been saving this whole time.
Well, because I asked them, I was like, because they're flying B-17s, they're flying Zeros, and they're maintaining. It's a really cool experience. Everyone should check it out. I think Wings Over Houston's coming up. Definitely check it out, because it's history. But then the guy nicely explained it just depends on the engine. So they'll let us fly these because they're old. It's an old engine.
Right.
But like
1940s,
anything from like 1950s on, like we're not going to do that.
Just too high performance.
I guess, because I was like, I would love to ride in a Black Hawk, and they're like,
I'll film it from on the ground.
So, but I guess civilians aren't allowed to fly Black Hawks or fly in
Don't know, man. Maybe
I guess money talks, though.
Oh yeah. Because Mark Cuban wanted to fly one of those things.
Well, because that's how the Commemorative Air Force and those folks make money, is you pay to ride in the B-17. And you pay to ride in the Spitfire or whatever. So I was like, how much would it cost to ride in a Harrier? Apparently,
a lot.
Apparently you can't.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Even if you're not flying, just to ride, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. As I asked the guys, like, when do you plan on taking those kind of planes in? because eventually those planes, like the old planes, are not going to be like as attractive. But I imagine because when was World War II?
In the 1940s.
Woman,
Well, our part
like
of it.
70-something years ago. So it's like, all right, so that's the threshold. So these planes have to be 70-something years old, and we're allowed to fly them.
Aviation
I mean, wouldn't
thoughts
you
with
want to
Dick.
ride it? Like when we're
I'm good.
talking about this thing,
Give me the supersonic, though.
I would definitely do that.
Oh, yeah,
just
man.
for fun. I'd go to space. I'd do it.
Depends.
I want to go. I want to go fast.
Is The Rock going to be with me? Because if The Rock's traveling with me, maybe I'll go.
I don't know.
Hasn't he been up there like 3 times already? Him and Bezos?
No,
Bezos?
I think it's William Shatner.
Has he been up there too?
Yeah.
They go around, float for a few minutes, and come back? Yeah, maybe we'll have to have that as a story.
I know you don't remember hearing about that where I think Bezos and him went up because he's in Star Trek. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to go up to space. Like William Shatner, of course, being William Shatner, didn't really care. Like they took him.
You know why? Because in every room he goes into, he's the star.
Well, I know, but like the fact that I'll never forget. I think it might be on video where
The Rock is supposed to be excited to see him.
They try to like ask him, "Hey, you're Captain Kirk. You went to space," and he's like, "Yeah, I did."
Except I didn't.
But they were trying. Yeah,
I thought you meant before.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd fly. I'd do it.
So you are a few years younger than me. We have discussed this, so I don't know if you remember these, but back in the
I don't have that kind of disease you have.
No, not that time.
Okay.
Different time. Back in the 1980s, McDonald's would give away these little records. They were like paper records. Do you remember this? With like a Happy Meal or even like a regular Big Mac meal, they would give away these records, and it would have like a single on it. And you take it home and play it on your record player.
Really?
Yeah, and they were paper, but they would play. The music obviously didn't sound very good because it's a paper record for crying out loud. But I can remember these. Well, there was also McDonald's did giveaways with these records, and I don't remember this. I just remember them giving away music songs. But back in 1989, they were giving away $1 million on a flex disc contest. Basically, you put the disc in and you listen to it, and at the end of the record, it told you whether or not you were the winner of this $1 million. It's very much like Willy Wonka-esque, in the golden ticket. But what's interesting is in 1989, a 13-year-old boy won this. And the story goes that this guy's name is Scotty Landreth. He was rifling through a stack of newspapers and starting to light a fire in his family's wood stove. And this is the same stove it says that they used to heat and cook everything. Cornbread, veggies, so you imagine they're pretty rural is what they're basically saying without saying it. Well, in that stack of newspapers, he saw something shiny and flash. Like, what is this? And look at it. It was a McDonald's record. And he put it in, and at the end it says, voice came on and says, call this number to claim your prize. And he's thinking, oh, maybe I got, free hamburger or something. Called it in, $1 million. Unreal. And this kid almost burned the thing, but found that he had won $1 million. And it was one of 80 million what they call flexi discs produced by McDonald's in the late 1980s.
So hold on. From what I'm understanding, you're saying years later he discovered this, or this was during the promotion?
I'm assuming it would have to have been during the promotion time, right? Because if you call years later and you're like, what's this? But it says he won it.
I can't believe you're making fun of poor people.
Did I inadvertently? I tend to do that quite a bit.
You have a stove in your house. You use it for everything. You must be a dirt poor.
It was a pretty good flex, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm over here talking about getting in supersonic jets. Meanwhile, this
I'm
guy
trying to heat my family with our stove.
Although this guy did win $1 million, so I imagine he could flex quite a bit on me these days. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. You don't remember those records at all, huh?
No, man, that's way before. I was born in 1986.
Oh, yeah. Then, yes, definitely before your time.
Jesus.
Sorry, I'm old.
I think like the earliest contest I remember was Monopoly.
Oh, yeah, and of course that one, they had a scandal about that as well, right? We'll have to cover, I don't know the details, but there was a scandal
There's a good
around
documentary or docu-series now. I think it was on HBO. It's good.
Yeah, about that particular scandal.
Yeah.
It seemed all too easy to get away with, I think. It's just too tempting. I mean, if you're the factory producing the winning ticket and you're going and you're seeing them fly past you on the production line, just kind of reach out and grab the winning one and stick it in your back pocket.
Well, what's funny,
Yeah.
I
Give it to your friend and ask for half
I forgot what
of
it's
it.
called, but there was I remember them telling the
too
story
simplistic.
where they printed out the winning ones. And so if people don't know what the Monopoly game is, like when you'd order a certain type of item at McDonald's, there was like a sticker on the like the cup or the box, and you could rip off the sticker and
Right.
it'll tell you.
Yep.
So they're telling the story about how they printed like the 6 winner, like the high winner, $1 million stickers. And the guy's like, yeah, we put it in the briefcase. And I was thinking, imagine having this giant briefcase and there's just 6 stickers in it. That's all it's in it.
Open it.
No, because they had to travel with it.
Sure.
And they're like, they had to do like a security thing, a huge security. Like we can't let people know which one's
Well, can
which.
you imagine misplacing it? Where'd it go? I swear it was
that-
in here.
Well, that's how they were trying to
Stuck to the bottom of someone's shoe.
That was the part of the story where like they basically swapped suitcases or briefcases, and then like it's just so funny to me the idea. There's like, oh, there's 6 stickers in here, and they're worth $1 million a piece. But Monopoly game was fun. I liked the Monopoly game.
That was one of the better games I think they came up with. I have to admit I was always excited when I was a kid and that one would roll around. Like, yes, I'm going to go. Because you always thought you were going to win because they would reel you in. They give you the little board, and your first few trips, obviously, everything was a new and non-repeated sticker. So you're like, oh, I'm filling up this board. At this rate, I'm going to have $1 million by next week. And you're filling up, you get about halfway, and then all of a sudden you start to get those duplications. You're like, no, I don't need this one. I need, the Boardwalk Empire or whatever the heck it is. And you never get past about 70% of those things filled before you just start getting the same stickers over and over and over again.
Speaking of giveaways, remember like we were talking about how you can't fly a Harrier jet?
Well, you can't, right?
But did you ever see that documentary about the Pepsi challenge thing?
No.
So like apparently this guy, one of those weird dudes, like if you watch the commercial at the very end, it's like you could win this jet. And so
Jet giveaway?
yeah, but I think it was like a joke. Like
You would have to be. You just said you.
But
people
it
can't fly
said
jets.
it said you could win this jet. So this kid apparently had a rich friend, and he's like, hey, if we buy X amount of Pepsi, we could get that jet, and that jet is worth 10 times more
the
than
amount
the Pepsi.
of Pepsi.
So they did it, and they sent the stubs to Pepsi, and go, we want the jet, and they said no.
Wow, they called him, I'm sure, lawsuit.
Oh,
they
yeah.
had to have sued
Yeah.
the heck out of him.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and it's funny to me like what rich people do, because it's like the story between I never fully understood how the rich guy got his money in the first place, and why he was friends with a kid that was like 15, 20 years younger than him, because either they were neighbors or something, and he was just like about to go to college, and he had this idea, so he went to his rich friend.
They had that scenario in the Adam Sandler movie. Was it Punch Drunk Love? Right? Is that the name of it?
With the travel points.
Right, he
with
figured
the
out
pudding.
Right, yeah, he figured out that the cost of the prize was significantly more than I guess he would had to have put in or something. I forget the details, but yeah, same type of scenario. That's funny.
But yeah, and there's 2 movie recommendations for our onesies right there.
Punch Drunk Love is a good movie.
And now I want McDonald's, and I hate McDonald's.
Sorry about that. We're going to finish up the show here with a quick hit. I meant to bring this to air a few weeks ago, and I forgot. But
Okay, I'm here. Hit me.
so Chevy Chase, you familiar with him? The actor.
Yeah.
Of course you are. You heard all those stories about him
What do
being.
you mean? Of course you do. Of course you
He's
are.
a famous actor.
course
Come
you are.
on, you're into movies, right?
Yeah, but I'm like higher class.
Oh yeah, right. Have you heard the rumors that he's kind of a hole
Well, it doesn't
of
surprise
the highest
me.
order? Yeah, I mean, I guess
most comedians are.
Are they? Dang, I had one lined up, and now you're going to run him off. Well, it says here on this is from a jambase.com article, that Chevy Chase played drums while in college, which, okay, that's not too surprising. But apparently the band he played college in was, did I say the band he played college in? I am really struggling today, gentlemen.
It's all right.
The band that he played drums in college was Steely Dan, which is pretty cool because I know your musical taste. You probably like Steely Dan. I love Steely Dan. I think they're phenomenal. But apparently he had an interview a few years back where he talks about his time in Steely Dan. He attended the college Bard College in Red Hook, and his classmates were Christopher Guest as well as Walter Becker and Donald Fagen, who I suppose are members of Steely Dan. Yeah, man. So apparently the band's name was not called Steely Dan at the time. They called themselves the Very Bad Jazz Band. I love it.
I feel like you're working against yourself when you name your band that. Because imagine sending your tape to on your tour, trying to book your tour.
Right. And who's playing?
A
very bad jazz band. Yeah. He said he thought he was a good jazz drummer, and he loved doing that kind of thing. But he said he didn't think he would make a very good rock and roll drummer. So he, for whatever reason, dropped out, and then Steely Dan became Steely Dan. You know what Steely Dan is, don't you? We're after the 55-minute mark. You may want to not look it up. Look it up later. All right, onesies, that is all we have for today.
We're allowed to get dirty.
Thank you for joining the Audience of One show. Wednesdays, 10 a.m. We drop new episodes. We appreciate all the likes and follows.
And then, send us your articles and fun stuff at audienceofoneshow@gmail.com.
My apologies for my poor performance today, too, everyone. I will make up for it next week.
Yeah,
I was stumbling and fumbling over my words. You're probably looking at me like, what is this guy even talking about?
I thought it was going to be me.
No, it was me. I can't talk. You ever had those days where words just don't form?
Well, that's because you're drinking.
Not right now. Maybe in a little bit.
Oh, man, I can't even think about that right now. We'll see you guys later.
Next week, onesies. Bye for now.
Watch out for those airplanes.